besties, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cayenne and this is Cayenne Booked, and today we're going to be talking about the 18 books that I read in the month of March. And I'm really just excited to be back because, as you guys know, between weddings and depressive spirals, I just really haven't been reading as much as I'm used to. So this may be a longer wrap up than normal because we have 18 books to talk about. And I'm just really excited about all of them. So let's jump in. The first one is going to be Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. So this is my UK edition, I believe. I don't know, I was on Pango Books and I saw this and I was like, I need it. I do have Divine Rivals as well, but I read that last month. So we're going to talk about Ruthless Vows. So this picks up right where we leave Iris and Kit at the end of Divine Rivals. So Kit has found himself in quite a situation. Iris's brother is back, but we kind of find out some things about him that are interesting, not necessarily what Iris expects to find out about her brother. So they return back to their city. This is, Dakar and Enva haven't made it over to their city yet. So they're also kind of, functioning like everyday people are functioning. And Iris is really torn between whether or not she's going to go back to the war front or not because she's been asked to. And with Kit kind of being MIA right now, she wants the ability to be able to go out and to find them because, as we all expected, the relationship definitely changed in Divine Rivals. And that's all I really want to say about Ruthless Vows right now because I don't want to give too much of it away. And I read at the beginning of the month and I've since read a couple of romanticies and I don't want to mix what is and isn't a spoiler. So I give this book 5 stars. Overall, as a duology, it's a 4.5 if we, average the 4 and the 5 together. Letters of Enchantment is just beautiful. It's like beautifully written. I love the idea of these like magical typewriters. I love the idea of, them falling in love and then almost having to like find their way back to each other. Like first it wasn't the gods interfering, then it is the gods interfering. So I felt like this had a little bit of everything. And just like I said in last month's wrap up, when I was like, I'm really hoping Ruthless Vows kind of like brings this all together for me, I will say that this book did an excellent job of doing that. And I really like how it ended. I think it was a really great ending for the duology itself. I'm not gonna lie, as I'm talking about it right now, I really want to reread it. Maybe I'll just listen to the audiobook. But so that's Ruthless Vows. I was just so happy that it definitely made it to be where like I could really love this duology because, as you guys know, like I was coming off of Divine Rivals, like, oh, like I really enjoyed it, but like I hope some things, like we get some more clarification. And I think that Rebecca did a really great job of clarifying in Ruthless Vows. So this one receives 5 stars. I do recommend this duology if you hadn't had a chance to pick it up yet. Like I said, it was just very whimsically written, beautifully written, and I love the idea of like the letters back and forth in their relationship. So that is Ruthless Vows. Next up is going to be Wicked Surrender by Heather Long. So if you're looking, I've got the cover right here. This is Adam Reed. So this is one of Lainey's guys. It's his turn to be featured on the cover. And in this book, we've really found out a lot about the enemies and the players in the game that Lainey and her gentleman are going to have to go up against, and how the war cannot be won by going around any of those players. They're really just going to have to go through them and solve those problems once and for all. This is book number 4 in the series, so I don't want to go too far into the nitty-gritty of what's happening in it because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, and I want everybody to pick up the first book in the series and get started with me because Shamelessly Loyal kicks it off really, really well, and you really do have the opportunity to fall in love with Lainey and her guys. And for somebody who read 82nd Street Vandals, which leads into this, like I've been waiting for the formation of this group and like for Lainey to get her happily ever after. So this series has just been really wonderful for me to read because I've been rooting for her for so long, and it's just really nice to see her kind of get exactly what she deserves and exactly what she wants. So I gave Wicked Surrender 5 stars. Like I said, start at Shamelessly Loyal. I don't want to give too much away because this is book number 4 in the series. Next up, I read A Worthy Opponent by Katie Robert, and I gave this one 5 stars. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've given 5 stars to every book in the series. So this is, the Wicked Villain series. So the villains are actually our heroes. So this is between Tink and Hook. And I loved the way that Katie Robert wrote this. I love like kind of the dynamic of, what would Tink think about falling for somebody who is considered the villain. And Hook is still very much like the bad boy in this one, so I kind of liked that Katie kept those elements of his personality, you know, like from what we would have seen in just Peter Pan itself. And I really like how Tink like didn't want to fall for him and it didn't want to gravitate towards him, but she did. So Tink worked for Hades at the underworld, the underground. I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. I think it's the underworld because it's Hades. What am I doing? Anyways, so she worked for him there and her contract's officially up. She's running fast and hard from her ex-boyfriend who was very emotionally and physically abusive to her. So if there's any types of triggers you have, I definitely recommend checking the trigger warnings at the beginning of this book because we delve into a pretty decent amount. So she doesn't want to make a deal with Hook, so she begs Hades to let her stay, and Hades is like, sorry, like, you're gonna have to go out and you're gonna have to make your way in this world. You know, like, Hook's offered blah, 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 when really I think, like, secretly Hades wanted her and Hook to get together, so he's like, sorry, you can't stay. And, you know, Hades makes a really good point of, like, you've been here for 5 years, like, you grew up here, like, it's time for you to go out into the world, and it's time for you to, you know, find your own way. And finding her own way leads her to Hook's doorstep. So I don't want to say too much more about it, but it's super hot. It's, those scenes together are just, they were so good. So I gave this one 5 stars. Right after that, I read The Beast, also by Katie Roberts. So this follows, hang on, let me grab my sticky note because I don't want to mess it up. Gatton, Beast, and Isabel. So this is obviously the Beauty and the Beast retelling, and if you know me, you know that Beauty and the Beast is absolutely my favorite Disney movie. Belle is my favorite Disney princess, and any type of retelling I'm always here for. And surprising absolutely nobody, I gave this book 5 stars, and surprising absolutely nobody, this is my favorite in the series so far. So this follows Isabel. So she fell in love with both of these gentlemen, but for whatever reason, despite their kinks, there we go, that's the word I was looking for, like, despite their kinks, they don't ever approach her about having a relationship between the 3 of them and not just one and one. So she's not able to make a decision because she loves both of them, obviously, and everything blows up and they stop speaking to each other, right? So then the gentlemen are in the underworld. Isabel's dad dies. They were the captains or the generals, and her dad's military, essentially. They leave. The entire country is going to be going up against the Sea Witch, and she knows she has to go back and she has to get them. So she strikes a bargain with them. And it was so good. So good. 5 stars. Next up, I read Empire of Desire by Rena Kent. So this was the next one on the reading order for reading her entire backlist in order. So this follows Nathaniel and Gwyneth. So Nathaniel is somebody that we've met in a previous series. I am blanking on his nephew's name, but I have read the series and I will link it up above. So we meet him in that, and I was like, I really hope he gets his own mama. So anyways, his best friend has a daughter, and her name is Gwyneth, and she turns 18 at the beginning of this book, and Gwyneth has always been in love with Nathaniel. Like, she hasn't hidden it, so she makes a move on him, and he's like, nope, I can't do this, like, you're my best friend's daughter, like, that's causing so many lines, blah, 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 blah. So things happen, decisions are made, they may end up together for very good reason, and I gave this book 5 stars because the way that Nathaniel is slowly broken down by how much he cares for Gwyneth is just everything to me. I love an age gap. I love, like, I love the fact that, like, she was legal before, like, anything happened, obviously. And it wasn't like he was, like, pining after her or anything like that. It really wasn't until she turned the age of 20 that he was like, oh shit, she's actually a woman. One that I might actually find attractive. And he's possessive and, like, he's everything. So this will be coming in probably at the end of April. I've got 3 other standalones and, like, the Empire standalones to read, so I'll put that all in one reading vlog, but definitely 5 stars. Next up, I read, okay, let me put this down real quick because I got 3 to pick up. I read Kingdom of the Wicked, Kingdom of the Cursed, and Kingdom of the Feared. So, as you guys can tell, this is a trilogy. I'm only really going to talk about what happened in Kingdom of the Wicked, but I'll go ahead and give you what I rated it. So I gave this one 4 stars. I gave Kingdom of the Cursed 4.5, and then Kingdom of the Fear, which is the final one, a 5. So really, all in all, like, the entire trilogy to me is about a 4.5. So In Kingdom of the Wicked, you have Amelia and her sister, her twin sister, Victoria. So they're witches, and they wear these amulets around their neck, and their grandmother has been filling their head full of this folklore about the princes of hell, right? So something happens to Victoria. Amelia is absolutely devastated, doesn't know what to do, la la la, finds this like book of dark magic essentially, and even though her grandmother's told her not to use it, what does she do? She uses it, and she summons a prince of hell, and the prince of hell that she summons is Wrath. And I'm just gonna say, like, I know I've seen people talk about it, and I don't want to go into like, and I say this like every time I do reviews, but what's really hard about this is it's a trilogy, and I can't tell you how this ends because what she finds out in this one leads us into the trilogy, and who he is to her and who she is to him, that's all intertwined. So this is like a much deeper level than just like she summons a prince of hell, and I absolutely loved how it all ended up. I read this one in a week. I read the second book in a couple of days, and I read the last book like in a day because I was like, I need answers. I need to know what happens. And it gripped me in a way that like a romantic series hasn't gripped me in a while. Because, you know, Divine Rivals was the duology, but also too, I felt that was like really more like romance versus like the fantasy aspect. And this ties together like all the princes of hell, and like we meet all the princes and who Wrath is to them, and like what the underworld looks like, well, what hell looks like, and all those types of things. And Throne of the Fallen is actually one of Wrath's brothers. So I'm really glad I read this before I read Throne of the Fallen, which is also in my bedroom. So I can't say enough good things about this. Carrie Maniscalco did a really good job of like building this world, and I'm really kind of hoping, you know, selfishly that she does do all the princes of hell, but you know, if she doesn't, I think I'll survive. But I really love it, she did. But if you haven't picked up the series, I highly recommend it. I gave book 1 a 4 because I was really confused and I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen, and I had a lot of things I wanted to happen, and I didn't know what direction we were going to take. But once you read the second book, I really feel like it just takes off at that point. So, highly recommend. Next up, I re-listened to Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I don't know why I didn't grab the book from up here. Oh, here we go. I re-listened to Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I listened to the graphic audio though, so this has like sound effects and like a full cast and all of that. So if you're a Fourth Wing fan, I highly recommend listening to it because I really did enjoy listening to it with the graphic audio and like having multiple male narrators and like the full cast aspect and the sound effects. I thought it did a really awesome job. I gave it 5 stars because I originally gave Fourth Wing 5 stars as well, so I would just, you know, continue that trend. Okay, so next up I read Lawless, Powerless, and Fearless by Crystal Ash. I gave all of them 4 stars, and I'm just gonna put all of them up right here because I'm not gonna talk about each book individually because there's 10 books in the series. But think about if Sons of Anarchy meets The Handmaid's Tale in a dystopian style world. So Mariposa graduated as a nurse like right before the collapse of the United States, and unfortunately like women are not allowed to carry like doctor license, nursing license, anything like that. Like literally, like we're back to having no rights and having to rely on men to take care of us if like they're gracious enough to do that. I really enjoyed also the MC aspect of it. So she finds herself with an MC not because she wanted to, but because she was at one of their stops or whatever, something happened and they were like, okay, like you're with us because like we need a doctor. And the guys of the MC, it was just like, we need somebody who could patch us up and take care of us. Like we don't really care if you're male or female, right? And naturally she falls for Reaper. Reaper is head of the MC. And then you have Jandro, he is the second in command. You have Gunner, who's responsible for making sure that they're feeding, like, you know, their city of people. He sets up the deals, like he gets the guns, Gunner, all that kind of stuff. And Shadow is exactly what you expect him to be. Like he's a shadow. He is the person who helps care for everybody, but from like a distance, and he never really lets himself get close to people. I really am enjoying the series. It is a little daunting that it's 10 books, which is hilarious because I'm going to be talking about a book that I read that's like book 62 in a series. But I don't know if I was quite ready to commit to like another series that's a little bit longer than 3 books. So I haven't picked up Powerless, which is the 4th book, but I'm going to because I am very intrigued into how all of this is going to end. So 4 stars for the series so far. I'm really enjoying it. There's the added mystery of like multiple MCs being against each other. And then like, of course, there's the big bad villain that like we're going up against, which is always entertaining. So those are those 3. Okay. Next up, I read A Kingdom of Shadow and Stars. A Kingdom of, hang on, I thought I was going to be able to do this off the top of my head, but obviously I'm not going to be able to. So I have the fancy special edition right here. So I have A Kingdom of Shadow and Stars. Oh, it doesn't break it up. Okay, so I'm going to put all of them up here for you. Okay? Because I gave all of them 5 stars. And this follows Everin and Adara. I don't know how to say her name, but I really like her. So she is star blessed, and she is sold to one of the kingdoms because the prince there is supposed to, is supposed to marry the star blessed for the prophecy, right? And then, so that is, we're not even gonna talk about him because like, you know, he ends up being who he ends up being. But we're gonna talk about Daddy Everin because Daddy Everin is the prince's brother, right? But he's like the bastard brother, even though he's the oldest. He's obviously not gonna ascend to the throne because his stepmother would never allow that, the queen, right? So obviously Adara and Everin strike up a little bit of a very forbidden taboo romance, because he's not supposed to get the girl, but she only wants him. And the back says, my brother's betrothed on her knees before me, ready to pledge her allegiance with her perfect mouth. And let me tell you, this steam delivers the, their forbidden relationship, like his possessiveness, how much he cares about her. It is absolutely everything. And I binged this series in like 3 days. So I highly recommend it. I got this when I met Holly Renee at Sweetgrass, and I'm gonna see her in Denver too. So I'm probably gonna pick up another one of hers because it was just too good. So I give all those 5 stars. And then you have A Kingdom of Fire and Fate, which is Soren and Thalia. And Soren is Everin's best friend, and Thalia was Everin's best friend, but definitely moved over to Team Adara after they met and like they became really close in one of the books. I gave them 4 stars because I was just really tired of Thalia always pushing Soren away. Like, I get it. She didn't want to let everyone in, and she had these walls, like these boundaries, and like, I understand it, but also at the same time, like, enough is enough, man. Let him in. So this is a story of how they have to go to the human kingdom, and Thalia basically has to seduce and get information from the human king, and Soren, being absolutely in love with her and incapable of letting her go into danger by herself, is like, I'll go with you. So it is their story. You're definitely teased by the 2 of them in Everin and Adara's trilogy. So by the time we get to theirs, like, if you read it as a standalone, it's gonna be very fast paced, but really, like, we've been waiting 3 books to get to their happily ever after. Next up, I read Random in Death by J.D. Robb. This is book like 61, 62 in the In Death series. So as always, we are following our favorite NYPSD lieutenant, Eve Dallas, and her strikingly rich, strikingly handsome husband, Rorik. And in this one, really takes all of our team. So Feeney's in this, Peabody's in this, McNabb's in it. We see the commander a little bit, Rio, who is the defense attorney, no, the district attorney. And then you have Mira, who is our profiler and our resident shrink, for lack of a better term, but obviously she deserves all the respect in the world. So this one is called Random in Death because at the onset of this, all of the deaths look random. So these girls, 17, 16 years old, out in very public places with lots of other kids their age, are being stabbed in the arm with a needle of like a lethal injection essentially, and they die within minutes. And it's up to Eve to figure out, number 1, who this guy is, number 2, what's his plan, and number 3, how to stop him. It was thrilling. I absolutely loved it. Like, you guys know that, I mean, 60 plus books into this, like, these are either 4 or 5 stars for me, and this one was a 4-star for me because I really, like, honestly, I loved it. I love every, like, you know, every moment with Rorik, every moment with Eve. And, you know, like, I really rate these books based off of the crime, and, like, I found the crime to be very interesting, but I've read like way more interesting crimes in the JD Robb series. So like, I was like, okay, cool. This is a really great book. I absolutely loved being back with the characters. I know I don't get the next one until September. What am I gonna do? I guess I'm gonna get over it. So, you know, I get the next one in September, but it was just really nice to be back with them. And actually, like, you heard it here first, I might have restarted the series on audio just because, like, I love being with them so much. So, thank you to Eve and Fam for keeping me company on all of my walks this week as I'm trying to get back out there and get my life together. And our final book for the month of March was Butcher and Blackbird. So I know a lot of people probably know what this one is, but if you don't happen to know what it is, it's a love story between two serial killers. So they meet up in some like really, some really interesting circumstances, and then they end up doing this like yearly game where they kind of like pit each other against each other and see who's like the better. And it's a story of how like they slowly fall for each other. So I don't want to go too far in depth into like how I feel about it or anything. Like I'll let you know I rated it 4 stars, but this was Jess and I's book club pick for The Good, the Bad, the Smutty. Always linked in the description box. So if you'd love to hear more of our thoughts, you will find, I think it was like a 15-minute conversation about it. But I absolutely adored Rowan. God, I love him so much. And Sloane was so funny and so sassy, and she was just like the perfect, you know, like the perfect person for Rowan. And yeah, so like that's all I'm gonna say. I fangirled enough about this yesterday because we did the live show yesterday, so I'm not gonna do that today. So yeah, check the link in the description box below. All right, guys, those were the 18 books that I read in the month of March. Let me know if you saw any of your favorites in there or any books that you're going to be picking up soon. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. I've got a lot of videos coming to you. I'm actually about to film some more, but I got a lot of videos coming to you. And yeah, so I hope your March was a wonderful reading month, and I wish you the best for the month of April. I'll catch you in the next wrap up next month. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.